you say you noticed some tension. What did you notice and when did you notice it?
Well, first of all, like if you reach down and pick up 40 pounds,
Hmm.
like that already automatic your body has to carry 40 extra pounds. So
Right.
like like you understand like there's going to be some effort involved on the
Yes,
realistic side of things.
no doubt about it. Yeah.
But then on the other part of things, like not adding unnecessary things, using a direction to you want like I don't you know what I'm going for here. Like
Yeah.
I want the best ease, best use,
Okay.
and to use it for what it's
Let's
intended.
just do some experiments. And
Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen, but
Okay.
the actual movement will be bending down, putting your hands around those those bars, I guess, or whatever you
hmm
call them, and then
I'll come back up.
coming back up. Okay.
And then from there, once I am holding the weights, then I have to kind of press my glutes back, stop about shins, and come
Okay.
back up. That's the actual
Let's
motion.
start with the very first move. There in front of you are two objects. And you're in a moment, you're going to bend your knee, ankle, hip, and which you were doing pretty nicely there. Did you notice? Because that's something we worked on.
I've been slowing it down
Yeah.
this week and
So the object is going to be to wrap your hand around that center piece and then come up with that being wrapped around and maybe bringing your arms up too, or is the first step you just bring it up. Right.
in this motion my arms should dangle.
Okay,
Like they
good.
should just dangle.
So why don't you do this? I'd like you in a moment to just do everything that you need to do to lift those, but not quite enough to get them off the ground. No, no actual lifting, let's put it that way, but you're in the place where the lifting would begin. Let's just try
Okay.
that. Okay. Okay. And then come back up for a minute. Don't lift them up just yet. So what did you notice about yourself as you got into that, we'll call it a position and a position of your hands?
Okay,
What
you don't like that word, Robert.
I know I don't like it, but as you were getting to the place from which the next step would be lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did you do to get from standing to there?
Well, I took a quick thought. Um, I did a quick I'm not doing,
Okay, good.
and
And then did
then
you take
I
that? That was the project getting
I
your knees bent and your
yeah
hand.
yeah, and just lowered
Okay.
myself with I'm not doing.
Okay. So this time do that, but just pretend that you have no idea how much those weights weigh. They could be paper mache for all you know. So you're going to bend down, use it in a direction, getting your hands in place, and then you're going to straighten your knees, right? And your that the weight will be hanging from your hands, right?
And you want me to rise back
But
up, bring the weight.
but but have as the initial idea, yes, I am going to pick these two objects up, but I have no idea what they weigh. Could be paper mache, could be lead. Just see what happens. What did that feel like?
They were heavier than I expected, but it all I think so. This is something I kind of discovered this week while I was playing with it.
Hmm.
That when I relax the rest of my body, the item that's carrying the weight gets all the weight versus before I think I was flexing a bunch of extra muscles and like counterbalancing some of the weight, or like throwing it in other places. And so like that verified like I think like I don't know what they weigh.
You don't know, and you won't know until you begin the picking up process.
Yeah, and then I realize, oh, my arms got some work to do. No.
They have some work to do, but if you just put them down again just for a second and just explore this possibility. Same thing on the way down, you're using a direction and you have no idea what that weight is. But on the way up, just know that it's your entire body that's doing that. Just see what happens with that. Whole body is involved. What was
I
that?
like that a lot better. Before
Because
I thought,
yes, the arms are doing stuff, but they are more, I would say your arms are more a conduit
hmm,
than where the real force is generated, which isn't to say you're not generating some in the muscles of your arms, but the big stuff's in your torso.
hmm,
And what you're doing by doing that process of, first of all, paying attention to how you get to these two objects, whatever they are, and however much they weigh, and
hmm,
then deciding that you're going to come out of that with your body, your arms hanging free. It's all those muscles in your torso and legs that's really doing the work, but
hmm,
not for you to worry about that. Because
right.
you don't know how much work this muscle should do and that muscle. You
Okay.
just know that you want to do this involving your whole body. And if you can bring it to bear, maybe a simple thought like, I'm free, as you do that.
Hmm.
What happens if you do that? Yeah, good. Yeah. And that's part of it going back and forth like that.
Yeah, multiple
And
times.
now, as you bend your knees, note as you bend your knees, know that your center of gravity is going up a little. And when you bring it up, let that center of gravity stay up a little. Just try that. Center of gravity is now higher. Now I don't want to push it down. How's that?
Oh, yeah, I like that. Center of gravity.
Right now it's higher, and you don't want to pull it down just to stand up. Yep. Yep. And you happen to notice, why don't you put them down for a moment? Did you happen to notice that anything about that was reminiscent of something we've talked about? Um, well, power poses,
Yeah, yes. Hmm.
right? Now you're not using this kind of power pose, but you're using bend my knees part of the power pose.
Right, right.
So you're bending down your center because the mass of your legs basically is getting closer to it. It goes up a little, and you could end up just okay picking them up and they go back to their old place. But you could say, well, my center's up a little bit. What would happen if I just asked very calmly for my body not to pull it down?
Hmm. And
So
that's just a direction I think while I do the next move.
I'd say it would be mostly a direction to use for coming up. Okay.
Hmm.
And then when you start going down a little bit, you bend and then come up a few times, right? Each time there's a bend, there's your center of gravity is going up a little. And each
Mhm.
time you unbend, you could say, I'm not pulling it down. So do that without even picking up the weights. Just do the
Okay.
movement involved in it and then come back up and just do that a few times.
And when I'm going down, the direction is,
It's always up within you, but I would say the main thing is just to know that um, when you bend, that's automatically raising your center.
raising the center of gravity.
And now, then when you unbend, you could just deliver this little message, I'd like to hang on to that. Not
Okay.
hang on, I cross that out. That's not a good phrase. Gone. I'd like to continue with that
Okay.
easily by just thinking, well, I'm not going to depress my center just because I'm straightening my legs.
Sure. Okay.
Do that, and again, without actually picking anything up, just the movement. All right, that's good, and that's good. And do that a couple of times, and then one more. And I bet you that if you put yourself in that place that you have your neighbor's gutters and the thing on your where you can see the change in your height,
Yeah.
I'll bet you notice you just got a little taller.
Mm.
As a matter of fact, I didn't think of this, but in back of you is a map of some kind.
Yeah, that's the map of Middle Earth.
Well, what could be more core, right? Um,
Right.
when you watch this, and I'm not sure you'll see it, but maybe you will, take a look at where the top of your head
Oh,
is
okay.
to start of the sequence of three. Just make a note of it and just don't be too interested until you've done all three, but then say, well, where is that top of my head relative to the map, which isn't changing? You're the one who's changing, not the map. Just see. I should have thought of but that would be a
Okay.
nice little test. Because I
Sure.
think what you're basically doing is a power pose without the arms over the head.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the power comes from the change in the legs.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get back to lifting. So
Do you
good.
want to try something else?
I want to just finish this because I want
Oh,
you to
okay.
do the same thing with lifting. Each time you bend, there's a little increase, and you're not letting it be pulled down. Each time a little increase in your height. And not putting in one more. I think you're going to see that line of your head in the map very clearly. Maybe you can feel it too. More of an openness across here.
Uh-huh.
Did you
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely.
could you sense
It's,
that?
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like with the 40 pounds still hanging in your arms,
Yeah.
it is a little bit harder to feel the openness as much.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, once you kind of set them down and then you need to continue the direction through placing them down and
And
standing back
now
up.
you don't have them anymore, and
Hmm.
yeah. I think that whole idea of approaching the weights with no idea what to expect in terms of heaviness.
Hmm.
You'll find out how heavy it is when you begin to actually when
Hmm.
they start to come off the floor, basically.
So, like a good like a reasoning behind using that thought direction is because sometimes we think, oh no, these are 40 pounds. I need to tense up so I can pick them up. Is that kind of like maybe
Yes,
the
well, you remember
cause?
we talked about Alexander and his recitals in large halls, no PA system, and rowdy patrons. He wanted to get his voice to the back. And he discovered that he did the little extra tension stuff in his neck, And he did some other things too, but this was the biggie. Before he started, the first word came out of
Uh-huh.
it. It was, now I am about to recite, and that's somehow different, but it's not unless you make it different.
Yeah.
It's the
Right.
same thing here. You get down there and your hands are around there and you don't know what to expect, and there's no reason to tighten up at that point because
Mhm.
for all you know, it might be way nothing to speak of.
Yeah.
But you'll quickly learn when it happens, and there's where you simply use the direction to make it as smooth as possible or as
Okay.
easy, right?
hmm I think I was doing in my own kind of way. I was getting kind of close to that
Yeah,
over the
absolutely,
week.
you were. You were absolutely getting close to it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, doing something like this is simple. This, I would assume, a pretty simple version of using
hmm
weights. Has
Right.
all kinds of lessons to teach,
Yeah.
which you could regard it as, I'm lifting these things to get certain muscle developments or good things. Or you could think, I'm using this as a way of exploring how I can do things more
Better.
efficiently and
hmm
easier and less likely to produce sprain in your body, tension in
hmm
your body. So it's
hmm
not just, I mean, it's almost like the strengthening properties or whatever you're getting from this, they're going to happen, and they'll probably happen more efficiently if you
hmm
come at this as approaching it for the using it as a activity in which to explore Alexander directions. And there's no reason why you couldn't explore after you've done a few of those light ones that we talked about. You might just for fun come back to just bringing them up without any of that
hmm
and see. You might start noticing that that doesn't seem real. It doesn't make your body as happy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, what's the next thing here?
Well, I did you want to use the bench? You
Yeah,
want to
let's use a
the
bench.
bench thing? You
Yes,
want to see like a bench press?
yes, yes.
This one has been interesting for me this week because you have to pick up the weights, adjust yourself, adjust yourself into laying down, and then get your weights into position to do the press. And in
Okay,
order to do that, I've been taking myself, am I locked in? Okay, nice and slow because it's like your weights are on the ground, right?
yep.
You put everything in place, and then
Then
I need to like,
you lie on your back, right?
yes.
Ultimately, okay.
So like I have to like get these in place, and they're pretty heavy. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yep.
then you get them in place,
Okay,
and then like the action begins.
right,
It's just a basic press. It's a
right,
little bit harder when you have free weights as opposed to a solid bar because the solid bar helps you keep both hands even and
right,
and like with this, your hands are a lot more
right.
wiggly.
Well,
So
come back up again and let's talk about that because I see something.
and then getting up like this, it's like
Yeah, well, one
getting
thing that strikes me as something this is more biomechanical. That's it's probably going to be helpful for your neck to have a little gap and a little something under your head, a la constructive rest.
like something that my head doesn't go flat.
Something that if you have like let's say you have a paperback book handy there, just this might just be fun to try. Do you have, is there a,
Oh yeah, I've got a couple
okay,
libraries back here, so
yeah,
I just need a like what I would grab for
yeah,
okay, we'll grab a couple here.
okay,
Get the Great Gatsby, 1984.
okay, that's a good book. Okay, let's just start with a couple of those. I don't know what the right height's going to be,
I
but
think
how about um, putting yourself in the position that you ultimately end up with, but not actually using the weight just yet.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to want to move the books in a little closer. And how does that feel, comfort wise? Do you feel like there's any pressure on your throat, for example?
No, I like it.
I mean, that's the question we would ask for constructive rest. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so just leave those books there so you know they'll be in the right spot and come on back up.
Oh man, I don't
And
know why I didn't think of that.
well,
That's gonna be better.
because because Alexander teachers have to do something to make a living. No, so now start have the weights. We're going to do it with weights, and so now, did you happen to think of anything constructive as you
Well,
been over?
yes, I was trying to do I'm not doing.
Yeah, well, good.
They're so heavy that like getting them up on my lap is like
Yeah, I'm
I'll
going
keep
to
trying to think of a better way to do
hold
that.
this thought in mind for after we finish with this, that statement
Okay.
you just made. I tried to,
Think of a better way.
no, I want to use that exact phrase. Not for now, but I'm not, I try to think I wasn't doing something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I used
just we're
trying.
going
I
to come
totally
back to
used.
that.
I used
Okay,
a
so
buzzword.
now use the direction to get into the place where you're going to be on the table. Right? And now a direction for bringing them up and for bringing them down. And when each time you bring them up, you're raising your center a little bit. Just know that. And each time you bring them down, your center's descending a little bit. But you could
Okay.
say, hey, they're up and I want them to stay up. As it's up and I want them to stay up.
Okay.
Not on the way down, not pulling my center down. On the way up,
Last one maybe? You want me to keep
yeah,
going?
yeah, just a couple of times. Now, listen, stop after this one. How does that feel to you as a compared to before?
Um, I like the center of gravity piece.
Hmm.
I think that was something that this week in trying, almost said the buzzword again, trying.
Fine. Yeah.
In my in my exploration this week, uh, I I used a lot of directions, slowing down, imagining myself doing it before I did it, trying a few different directions just to see if it would have different outcomes, and I feel like some of them did have different outcomes.
Yes. Yes.
But one I didn't explore was thinking of the center of gravity.
Right. And also, did you notice any difference in this area as you were doing the lifting?
I love having my
Because
head
your head
lifted.
was in a much nicer place relative to the
Yes,
rest of you. I assume there's
good.
no rules that you shouldn't have something under your head. And,
No, that's fine.
and I would imagine that most people who do presses don't do that. I mean,
No, they go flat down because that's how the benches are built.
yeah. So I definitely would suggest using the books. I mean,
Okay.
that's going to help this area a lot.
hmm
Now, let's maybe just turn around and face me and put the weights away because I want to talk about that phrase you used because because it's buzzing around in my head. So
Okay.
uh oh look, now we got someone who really knows how to use themselves well. Look at that.
Yeah,
Wow.
he never misses a lesson, you know?
He's learned a lot, I imagine.